Chris. What are you feeling at the moment? You're into another grand final after an absolute epic prelim.
What am I feeling at the moment? I'm feeling very proud of our group, not just for the resilience that they showed tonight, but for the resilience that they've shown throughout the year. You know, we're in a pretty dicey situation, halfway mark of the season, with 4 wins and 6 losses and a draw, and you know, the way those boys have gone about it and just stuck to their guns is, you know, they got a reward tonight. You know, if you had have said to me at the halfway mark of the season we're going to be playing in the grand final at the end of the year, I probably would have said you're crazy. But here we are, and we've got an opportunity. Fantastic win against a tremendous footy club in Geelong. We've got enormous respect for them and their coach, and yeah, we endured tonight.
Do you feel like all those setbacks, so that, you know, 3 losses in a row, the 4 ACLs, you know, you were, 2-6 after 8 or whatever it was. Has that just built the level of resilience to a level that's far greater than even sort of 12 months ago?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're the sum of all your experiences, and we're obviously disappointed about what happened in the grand final last year, as close as it was. And, you know, that was driving us coming into this season, but it was probably, in a way, driving us too hard. I felt like we were trying too hard. I think that sort of manifested itself in our kicking for goal as an example. But, yeah, I mean, I think the quick answer to your question is yes. It's enabled us to uncover depth we didn't know that we had. A lot of young players have come into our team and given us an enormous amount of energy, and they've stood up on the big stage. And I feel like we're a really even team at the moment. It's not, you know, we're not requiring our star players necessarily to play outstanding games. It's everybody doing their 2 bobs worth, and no, it's just keeping things pretty simple, and you know, the boys are just giving themselves to the team. That's been something we've been talking about for a long time now. This is the way out, boys. Give yourself to the team. So.
Do you see any similarities between tonight and what was last week? Obviously, you're further down, 44 points, but tonight too. I mean, they get the first goal, the second half, it's 25. It's like a switch just got flicked, and you start playing this incredibly attacking, direct footy. What happened?
Yeah, well, we talked at half time about the fact that, you know, we were in a similar position last week, and that we should have confidence to, if we keep working hard, that we could get ourselves back into the game. And you know, the other thing that, and this is not Geelong's fault, but if you look at their last game of the season against the West Coast, they were 100 points in front at half time. It was a low pressure, low contested game. Then they have a week off, and then they play Port in a final where it was a similar sort of game, low pressure, low contest game. Then they have another week off, and I just felt like it's good to have the time off, but you need the games that you play to be really hard, tough games. And maybe at the end that showed our harder preparation enabled us to run the game out. And I would have thought that would have been a real challenge. I wasn't there, but I would have thought that would be a real challenge for Geelong coming into this week's game, and maybe explains a little. We lifted, but maybe explained a little bit of why we're able to do that.
How's Oscar McInerney looking now?
Oscar's he dislocated his shoulder. That was probably obvious for all of you to see, and then he dislocated it again. So I probably reckon when you've double dislocated your shoulder in a preliminary final, you're not going to be playing in the grand final, which is a real pity, because he's just been so enormous for us. His growth as a leader, from where he was 5 or 6 years ago to where he is now, and you know what he means to the team. It's just such a real pity. It'll give somebody else an opportunity, someone like a Darcy Ford or a Henry Smith, and we're, you know, lucky our reserves team played up until last week. They got through to the prelim final and got knocked out. So we've got players ready to come in. I think we're okay injury-wise outside of that. We'll have some blokes this week that won't do much during the week, but they'll be right for the weekend. But yeah, Oscar, it's a real pity, because he means so much to us. He's a pretty simple O, but he's a much-loved character at our footy club.
You already said you're going to pick a bona fide ruckman. You wouldn't just go with what you went with tonight after he went off.
Look, do you reckon it looked pretty good? I don't know whether you get away. You know,
That's a
like
risk.
the team that you play next week then got a chance to plan against that. So I would have thought we'll probably go traditional. I haven't done selection for next week yet or talked about it, but yeah, I think probably we'll go conservatively.
How determined was Austin to get back on the ground after the first quarter incident? He played for nearly another 2 quarters after the first one.
Yeah, that's him. He's full of heart, and he's a bloke that just gives himself to the team. He just does that, and that's why he's admired so much. So it'll be a downer for us that he can't play in the grand final, but I know the boys will probably find a way to use that as a dedication for the game as well.
When he went back on the ground, Chris, was he fully aware of the probability that he wouldn't play if he won?
I don't know about Jake, whether he would have known that. Knowing Oscar, he would have hoped that he could get through the game, and if he could get through the game, that he'd be right to get through the game again next week. That's probably what was going through his head. Obviously, the shoulder dislocated. It came back in pretty quickly, but unfortunately got another knock and it popped back out again. So I think that's a signal that there's a bit of laxity in the ligaments around the shoulder, and that'll put him out for next week.
Might have been a goal-saving tackle from Jack Payne on Mitch Duncan towards the end of the game. How impressive has it been that he's been able to get up and get through the last 2 weeks with that knee issue?
Yeah, so it's not a huge knee issue, but it was a pretty important moment in the game. I think that'll get shown during the week. That act of desperation. He had a relatively minor MCL injury. It's still a little bit sore, but I would have thought by next week he's just about the best version of himself physically. And he's played 3 games in a row now, all finals. He's had a game in the reserve, so hopefully he improves even more next week.
It seems in the second half when he got that attacking run that Kai Lohmann had a bit more freedom in the way that he played. Did his role change at all, or was it just a confidence thing?
No, I just think that the ball was coming in there quicker. There was a little bit more space to work in. He played a tremendous game. He was pretty dirty. He missed that goal. Would have put us about 3 goals up, I think. And he came off and he wasn't too happy. Just said, "Be a goldfish, mate. Move on." And I'm just so happy with all of our young guys, what they've been able to contribute for pretty much most of the year. A lot of them look like they're going to be fairly good footballers for the Brisbane Lions for a long time to come. So, and these experiences that they're getting now, they're worth gold. They're worth their weight in gold.
Cam Rangers game after half time. Do you have any specific instruction for him after half time, or just get more involved?
No, he just played his role and played it a bit better. I mean, he plays mostly as a forward, so it's always it's challenging. It's hard as a forward these days to get a lot of the ball and influence the game because teams get numbers back pretty quickly, and it's a real crowd in there. But he lifted magnificently in that second half. I thought he's probably arguably the best player on the ground in the second half. I don't know what you guys thought, but we played 3 finals now. He played a super game against Carlton. He was massively important tonight, and even last week when he copped a little bit of criticism for maybe not having the best game, if you watch the tape closely, some of his tackling and his contest work, particularly in that last quarter when the game was on the line, was absolutely awesome. He's growing as a player, growing as a leader. He's really important for us.
Just quickly, just the bigger picture into this week, the Northern Grand Final, if you like.
Yeah, so that's great for footy in those states. That'll be good. Sort of old Fitzroy versus South Melbourne, or the Sydney Swans versus the Brisbane Lions. But whichever team you barrack for, just turn up next week. It'll be interesting to be involved in a grand final where you're not playing a Melbourne team and they just sit back and wait for you to fly down and play the game. We've both got a similar preparation ahead of us next week. Sydney have clearly been the best team of the season. We had a really tight battle with them not so long ago, and it's going to be a really tough game next week, and hopefully we can give a good showing of ourselves like we did tonight.
I know the job's not done yet, but are you, on a personal level, are you sort of proud of yourself of how you've come through the last 12 months for obvious reasons, difficult off-season, and then you've copped a bit of stick in coaching terms from certain quarters?
This is not about me. Just leave that one alone, I reckon. I appreciate you asking the question, but I'm pretty good. I work at a great footy club, and I have many fantastic people around me who have a lot of faith in me, and I know that. And that's all I really care about. You know, people can make their comments and have their judgments, and they're not inside the four walls. They don't know what goes on there, and all I know is I've got the respect of everybody at the club, and that's all I care about.
Monday night, the Brownlow Lockie's a huge chance again. How have you rated his season this year?
No, he's had a great year. You know, he gets a lot of attention. He was really important again tonight. I thought he played a terrific game. He's doing it a little bit tough physically at the moment, getting from game to game, but he'll be right to go next week. But he'd have to be a real chance. He's a proven vote winner. It's probably the last thing on my mind, and probably on his mind. I reckon he's been in. This is his third one next week, and he desperately wants to be involved in a winning grand final team. And I would probably suggest that that's more important to him than winning the third Brownlow. If he did it, it'd be great. But I reckon it'd be lower down his list of priorities.
How important has it been to manage him just with the injuries, carrying barely trained during the week? He's not doing much yesterday. He comes out and has a really good game again.
Yeah, so he had a good training session on Thursday. He actually trained fully, did very little early in the week. The reason why he didn't train yesterday is because he trained on Thursday, so didn't want to put him out there 3 days in a row. But no, he can handle injury. He's played a lot over the last 3 or 4 years with things that most human beings wouldn't consider playing football with, but that's just him. And he's got those chunky little legs of his that are so strong that's what helps get him through.
Do you think you'll the same kind of preparation for him this week? Maybe just the one session on the Thursday?
Yeah, I'll be the same, yeah. So everyone who thinks he's not playing, I'm telling you now, he's playing next week.
Will you have basically the same sort of preparation next week as you did this time last year?
We might change things a little. I think we might come down a day earlier. We might come down on Wednesday and just relax into it a bit, get a couple of training runs here in Melbourne. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get on the MCG twice, but that won't matter. I just think it's good to be down here and just prepare ourselves for the game.
Do you think it's an advantage for us to have played here as it's turned out and over a team that's played at home? That you've actually played the MCG, you'll have consecutive games.
I don't know. I don't know. This might not be right, but I think the Swans have got a pretty good record at the MCG, haven't they? Yep. Yeah. So probably means bugger all then, Jake. But it's good for our blokes to have played here because we don't get that many opportunities. So this is our third game, I think, this year, and we've had 2 wins and a 1 point loss. So. We're going better on the MCG than we used to. I saw somebody wrote we won 2 and lost 18. Depends how far you go back. Like you can make our record look really terrible, or you can just look at this year and go, oh yeah, it's not too bad. I'm looking at this year.
You mentioned before about Geelong and how the without opening up old wounds, the pre-finals bye thing. You reckon that may have been a factor for them?
I guess what I was saying is I think the pre-finals bye is okay from a preparation point of view, as long as you get hard games in the games that you play, and that was the point I was trying to make. Like, unfortunately, West Coast had come to the end of their season. It was a pretty easy win for Geelong at home, and as it turned out, the Port Adelaide game was, I suppose, surprisingly, low in contest and low in pressure. Port, got going last week and did a great job and pushed hard last night, but that particular game I don't think was ideal. So I would have been a little bit worried about that as a coach. I knew tonight coming in we had good preparation, and that gave us a lot of confidence.
Thanks, guys.
Right.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.